So started. So it just wants us to briefly outline, give us a synopsis of the Lance Armstrong case. This case, well, I remember growing up that Lance Armstrong was like he was just like the coolest dude. He overcame cancer. He won the Tour de France 1,000 times, and so I remember when it came out that he had cheated and doped and stuff like that. I remember thinking, like, I was like, oh my gosh, like, are there no good people in this world? Like, best of the best. And there was even that part in the case where it said at one point he was voted like like one of the best athletes of the past 50 years. So, but basically, I think that like using steroids and stuff like that, that's like a debate, because some people argue that using like performance enhancing drugs is like part of like the curve. Like, yeah, not everyone's going to afford it, but like those that do, like they're all doing it, it seems like. So I don't know. I guess we can just go into the questions. So the first question, they're the same as the case in our agenda. So the first one is, what is Armstrong's legacy?
So for me, what I wrote was, his legacy was what you were talking about. He was known for being one of the top athletes. I remember in like grade school seeing commercials and like promotions with him, like do this, and I mean, he was a hero to people, but he had that was kind of his legacy until he got caught. And essentially his legacy is now he's a, I don't know, how did I put it? He betrayed everyone. He was a coward. He tried to hide all the things he was doing, and then now all that's changed. It's the opposite. People look down on him, which is really sad, because he did have lots of great accomplishments, but now it's all kind of just overlooked because he really didn't do it. It was, the steroids and things like that got him there, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely think the same, and I want to add something because he also like started the foundation of like Live Strong, which was like really really popular. I remember like using the yellow rubber with Live Strong, and it was like amazing that he made this foundation and like gave money and for research and everything for cancer treatment. So like that was really good of him, but still like he made so many mistakes. And the worst part is that he still believed that he was right. He was like, okay, cheating is like everyone cheats. So like he didn't have like any regrets about it until the end. Like he was like, oh, I haven't done anything wrong. And that was kind of sad.
Yeah, I agree. That was pretty sad.
Yeah, I feel bad for the guy because he had all those titles, and now he's, I don't know, he's nothing. He's got nothing to show. Even though, because it's like he did put in a lot of hard work. I mean, even if you do, dope and things like that, you still have to be a top athlete. I mean, yeah, it does help you, but still, he had great skill and qualities, but the things he did was wrong. And it's sad that he blew all his talent on, drugs.
I like that. I like what you said, Colin, but I think, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just think,
yes.
Yeah, he has nothing to show, but the light he and his team were able to shed on like doping within cycling and like other performance related sports. I don't know if you guys know this, but sumo wrestling is like totally rigged. And I mean, you don't really care probably about sumo wrestling, but I'm just saying like a lot of people don't know. And because of like the whole Lance Armstrong and the Live Strong and like all of this, like there's more awareness of doping within like performance related sports. And I think like people are realizing the need for better tests and like more honesty. I mean, there's two ways you can look at it. Either we need better tests and more honesty, or Lance Armstrong got away with it for 7 tours, so I can too, you know? So it's either going to fix things or it's going to make things a lot worse.
Yeah, that is a good point. I guess I'm just looking at it at Neil or at Lance Armstrong, but
it is a big loss for Lance. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the effects of it do have some good outcomes as well.
I've ever seen the movie Dodgeball, but there's a part like towards the end of the movie where the guy wants to quit and he's like at the bar and he sees Lance Armstrong and he's like, when I got cancer, did I quit? It's like, no, I got back on the bike and I won all these things. So when it came out that he was cheating and stuff, I was like, man, what a hypocrite. Like, come on, dude. Yeah, it was funny to me. But so the next question says, Armstrong organized and led what was perhaps the most sophisticated and comprehensive cheating program in the history of sports. Who suffered from his cheating and what were the costs? So, I mean, a lot of the guys, it said towards the end of the case that a lot of the guys like that, as like on his teams with him, they didn't really get in trouble as much because it was found that like if it hadn't been for Lance Armstrong, they probably wouldn't have even gotten into this stuff. He introduced them to all these performance enhancing drugs and stuff like that. And so I feel like a lot of them, because of him, I mean, you think about it, though I didn't realize that the Tour de France was like a team sport. Like there's only one winner, but like your whole team is helping you like win. And it makes sense that like if Lance Armstrong was going to cheat, he'd want his teammates to cheat with him so that they could help him, to give him the best chance. But like a lot of them wouldn't have ever even got into this stuff if it weren't for Lance Armstrong. So I feel like, I mean, they definitely suffered from his cheating.
Yes, yeah, and also
go ahead, Maya.
Yes, and I think that the whole organization of like Tour of France got like suffer from his cheating because it was like it was 7 years, and 7 years like he could cheat on them, so it was like terrible like marketing for them. It's like they are not I don't know what's the word, but they are not like trustful like the Tour of France because they could be cheated on. So for me, it was also the organization, and also like they had so many secrets, and like they even made it seem like the bus was damaged so they can make like a blood transfusion. It was like really big. It was like a really big sophisticated cheating program, like with many secrets and doctors and a lot of money investing in like cheating the system. So it was like really big.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think, Lance Armstrong and his team suffered, and the whole industry in general suffered. But I mean, if you just think this was just one team, the U.S. team, how many other teams are doing this? How many people are involved? I mean, it just goes to show, if this one group got caught, how many others didn't get caught that should have.
The article did talk about. Go ahead.
No, I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, I thought you were. The article did talk about how like 20 of the 21 top people over the 3 years or something like that. Out of all of those, 20 of them were doping. And I don't know about you guys, but I felt so bad for the racers that weren't, because the data and like the race itself is so skewed, and like all of those like top 20 people, like they're good, but it's because they were doping. But that one person that like made it without doping, like that is incredible that he could even keep up with all of those people. So I think like,
Yeah.
I mean, this whole thing affected a lot of people, but it really affected the racers that weren't wanting to like lower their standards to win, you know? It really intensified the sport and like the things they had to do to keep up with everyone else.
And that's like Lance Armstrong's like argument is that other people were doping, so like it just levels the playing field is to dope yourself, which is really sad. It was kind of crazy though, like that there was times where he was like tested positive for something and nothing happened to him. Like people swept it under the rug and stuff like that. Like, I mean, even like the organization that was testing him, and stuff like that. So like, it's just crazy. The whole. I mean, yeah, him getting caught and all this stuff that does really hurt the sport. With it for so long, but yeah. So, well, so were the other riders, Hamilton, Landis, and those who testified, were they too loyal to Armstrong or not loyal enough? I don't know. Honestly, I felt like they were pretty loyal. Like, I felt like they held out as long as they could until like they just couldn't either couldn't keep it in anymore or they were out of themselves, and then they were like, okay, you're right, you caught me, but like I'm not going to take the whole blame for this. Like Lance Armstrong got me into this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think they were loyal, but you know how it was saying how they were really good friends and things like that. They knew each other from before and things like that. I think they weren't real good friends. Like they weren't true friends, like true loyal friends, because you know they're really seeking your best interest. And if they were really true loyal friends, they would have called them out on it and you know made some changes. So I don't know if that's what the question is asking, is if they were loyal friends or just, you know, I think they were loyal. They gave in to the scheme that he was doing to cheat. So
I don't really believe they were friends because, like, it says that Armstrong for Tyler Hamilton. It says, let me like read it. It says like a few weeks later, while riding in the Tour, Landis rode up to the Hamilton and informed him that Armstrong had contact to complain about Hamilton's performance. So it was Armstrong at the beginning that he was like, okay, so this guy also cheated, and then after that, then he said the same. So I don't know if it was more like a revenge in that case, like in that specific case, where it was like first Armstrong the one that said that he was cheating, and then like he like the payback saying that he was also cheating. So I don't know.
yeah, I think you're right. It happened later on that they started, you know, kind of pointing fingers and things like that. But you got to remember, these guys are on that team together. They sleep on the same bus, travel together, things like that. You get really close to people like that, and I don't know.
I think.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to finish that and saying that also after the interview that Hamilton had at the end, they say that they met at some place in Aspen or something like that, and he was like he was insulting Hamilton and saying, okay, like we're going to tear you apart in the stand, in the witness stand and everything. So like I don't know, like I didn't feel that he was a good person, like Armstrong, personally.
I think they were being loyal in the first place, but like Lance, in my opinion, started to become a bully. And like, I think like the deeper Lance got, the more risky it got. And I think the riskier it got, some of those people probably would have spoken out if they weren't so afraid of like Lance and the things that he knew on them and like the power he had to like, I don't know. It's just when you're teammates and you witness so much of each other's lives and then like you're so invested in each other, like Lance had so much dirt on everyone else too. So
Yes, I believe it was like a whole mafia.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. So I don't know. It was crazy. But the next question is think about a situation where you witnessed a leader, formal or informal, make a decision for others that made you uncomfortable. And how did you feel about it?
I believe that happens like in our daily basis. Because like everywhere there is someone that like just make you want to do like bad things and like say okay you need to follow the group or something, especially I mean it's not a leader but it can be like a friend of ours, for example in a party, and like they offer you a drink or something, or it can be like a leader when they're doing some shady contracts or some like shady stuff, and you just because you want to impress your manager like you just follow them. So I believe that it really happens daily. um for example here in politics that's like really common.
I actually couldn't think of any situations like this. I mean, I'm sure they've happened in my life, but I couldn't think of anything when I was preparing this.
Lucky you. I have like a lot of situations like yeah, like I told you, especially in politics, it's like one day you just everyone seemed like to be friends, and then the other day like they're going to prison because they stole money, like thousands to the people. So it's like daily news.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anything either. I mean, like, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that goes on with the government that like I don't agree with or that makes me uncomfortable that we're even doing that. But like I don't know. We could get super political here. I don't know. I think that like people that are I don't know. I just think um, personal situation like at work or with anybody that I've like worked with directly.
And what about like your friends or something?
Uh, I don't know. I know. Well, it wasn't even a leader. It was just my friends. We were at the church building and we were trying to get into one of the classrooms. It was like or something where there's like we're watching like church basketball or something, trying to get one of the classrooms and accidentally knocked over a piano and it broke the door. And ran away and just said we'll just not tell anybody. We tried to do that and it made me feel really uncomfortable. So we ended up getting caught anyways.
I don't know. So, because here, like, to be like a member of the church is not so common. Like, I don't have a lot of like Mormon friends, so
Yeah.
it's like it happens a lot with everything, like drink or some bad action, and they just like it's like peer pressure. It can also be related to that, like peer pressure or of just like seeing everyone doing it and then like feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this one, I mean, this one's kind of similar to the same question, just opposite direction. Think about a situation where you witness talented followers follow a leader into an uncomfortable or bad zone. What was the situation? What were the results? Did anyone object? I couldn't really think of anything where I saw people follow their leader into an other than in the case study. I mean, no one like. Oh, I can tell you a situation. So this was it's kind of stupid, but when it was about my mission. So when I was a zone leader on my mission, we got a call from one of the brand new missionaries. He had been out for like a week, and he called us, and he was like super scared. He was like, "Guys, I need to talk to you. We did something really bad." So their whole apartment, there was 4 missionaries of them. They decided that they were going to go Black Friday shopping, which like isn't a huge deal, except they went out at like 1 o'clock in the morning when you're not supposed to be out. And all they did was buy like a little like flash drive to put their pictures on. And he felt like super bad about it. And so he told us, and it was kind of, and his companion was also a district leader. He was the one that wanted to do it. So everybody just kind of went along with it. And I remember thinking with him, we said, the thing that's really sad about this is that there's 4 of you guys here that chose to do this, whether it was one person's idea or not. Not one of you objected to it. Not one of you stood up for what was the right thing to do. And I think that's kind of the same in this case with Lance Armstrong. Yeah, he was the one that introduced doping to all of them and kind of got them started on it, but not one of them stood up and said, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, yeah, they probably would have got kicked off the team and whatnot, but it was right. So they're kind of just as at blame for their own doping as anybody would be, because they didn't stick up for what was right.
Yeah, that reminds me of a time on my mission. Kind of the same thing happened. Me and my companion, we had a dinner appointment, and with the zone leaders, it was in their area. They had invited us because we were in the same ward. And anyways, we went there, and because I was with the zone leaders, I'm like, oh, this is okay, right? We can go out of our area. And anyways, I don't know. I felt like it was okay because we stayed out there later than when we were supposed to and things like that. And I just kind of went along with it because it was my zone leader. It's like, oh, if they're doing it, then it has to be okay. But anyways, I talked to kind of similar situation. I talked to the president about it later, and he's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have done that. And anyways, similar thing. I just felt bad because, I knew what the rules were, but because my leaders weren't following it, I didn't feel like I had to follow it either.
Yes. Yeah. Like I have like a really, really personal like experience with that. And like definitely you don't have to follow people just because they're the leaders. Like they can even that can even get you to yell. And that happened like to one of my best friend's father. Like he was the ministry of one of the ministry of the country, and like because everyone like they made you like sign agreements or something like that, and or otherwise you will lose your job. So he signed something like that, and like he ended up in jail. So
wow,
it's sad, like how one decision like can influence your life. Even like like everyone else seem to still do it, like just don't have to follow like others.
Exactly. That's a great example. Well, so kind of along those lines, like what basic principles guide your integrity? We'll start with that question. What are some principles that guide your integrity?
I always like to ask myself the temple interview question, are you honest with the dealings of your fellow men?
Yeah.
It's like, if you can honestly answer that, say, I have not deceived anyone, I have been upfront and honest, I don't know, I just think, when I think of that, I just evaluate, is what I'm really doing correct? Am I defrauding someone, even though I may be telling them the truth, but maybe not all of it? Stuff like that. I just want to make sure everything is in order. That they could never come around and say, "Oh, you tried to cheat me." I want to always be able to answer, no, that was never my intent. I've always been upfront with you. I tell you how it is. Things like that. That's what I think of.
For me, I just always like ask myself if it's something Jesus would do. I don't know. The whole purpose of being on earth is like to become like Christ. And so I always try, like, before I make a decision, to picture Christ doing it or saying it or watching it or thinking it or whatever it is. And I mean, I truly believe the God has a sense of humor, so I don't think it's like we have to be serious all the time. But I also know, like, I don't know. That's just, I feel like, a really good comparison. Can you see Jesus doing it or no?
That is a good comparison. I kind of like, my integrity kind of based off of just like, do I keep my word? Like, can people trust what I say? When I tell somebody I'm going to do it, do I actually follow through? When I like a certain thing, is it truth? And so just being a man of my word is a part of what I see as integrity for me. The next question is, are there times when there is a gray area? Somebody asked me in the commandments, and that the commandments are pretty black and white, and they brought up, something like with the hurricanes down in the South. When I have a friend who lives in Florida, on Sunday, they went to sacrament meeting early in the morning to take the sacrament. And then right after that, they all went out and did some cleanup. And that was on a Sunday. And one might argue, well, that's not keeping the Sabbath day holy, but the church organized it. It was with the Mormon Helping Hands and stuff like that. And there was, that was the best way for them to keep the Sabbath day, was to serve others and to be out in the community doing that. And so I don't think there's really a gray area with the commandments, and I don't know if there's really a gray area with what's right and wrong. I just think it depends on the situation, on what truly is right and what truly is wrong.
I believe that Jesus knows our hearts and he knows our intentions. So, like, he can know why we do things. So, like, if we believe that it's the right thing, like we really believe and we know, like, we are doing like the best that we can, then I think that he is the one that is going to decide for us if that is indeed right.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, I really like what you were saying, Tyler, about the gray area, how it depends on the situation. There's always a right and wrong answer, or right and wrong depending on the situation. But it's kind of like you have to. It's unique to each situation, so you just can't say in general. You can't serve on Sunday. It depends.
Yeah.
I like what he was saying about the gray area too, because I think, like, the commandments really are black and white, and, like, obviously God's judgments are black and white too, but as, like, natural and fallen men, we have a tendency to make up a gray area and think it's gray when really it's not gray. We just maybe aren't, like, willing or able to face the fact that it's a black or a white area. And so
Justification.
Yeah.
Justification makes the gray area. Yeah.
Exactly. Or, like, I don't know. I know for me, before I fully understood the gospel, I really liked to like, if I didn't know something, I liked to not learn it, because then I couldn't be held accountable for, like, disobeying it or something. I don't know. I can't think of the word that it is.
ignorance.
Yes, ignorance. And it's not bliss. It's a lie. So, yeah, that's what I think like the whole gray area thing.
Good. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. I like what you said though, that we sometimes we think we're in the gray area, but really we're just straight up in the black. We're just completely wrong. It's so easy to justify, and I'm sure that's what Lance Armstrong was doing. He was justifying his actions. He probably still to this day thinks that he was right in using those performance enhancing drugs, but it wasn't. It was wrong. And I mean, whether everybody was doing it or not, the rules were you don't do this. And that's the commandments. If the commandment is don't do this and you're doing it, then there's nowhere in the scriptures where it says you can't serve people on Sunday. I mean, it actually tells you to tend to the sick and needy and stuff like that. And so, yeah. Our next question says, how do you choose correctly? And I think we kind of answered this one. You do what's right always. I mean, if you're trying to justify something, then you're trying to get around a certain commandment or rule or something like that. If you're justifying, you're trying to find a way around it. But if you just try to stick to it directly, I mean, you can't go wrong. You're going to do what's right if you're trying to follow it. It's like the iron rod. If you're holding fast to the rod always, you're not going to fall astray.
Yeah, I really like the quote that was in that other article we read, How Will You Measure Life? You said it's easier to hold yourself to your principles 100% of the time than it is to hold them 98% of the time. I mean, I don't imagine Lance Armstrong just all of a sudden started doing, full-scale blood transfusions and doping and all that. I imagine it was, let's try this, see how I feel, how it improves me. And it's like, oh, that worked, let's try this. And, slowly until finally he was totally encompassed in it, And so just it's better to always commit to do what's right. That way you don't have those doubts where, yeah, I guess I can do this once, but then I won't do it again.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope.
It is. Well, that's kind of leads into our next question. How will you personally measure your life, and how will you measure success?
I've always wondered that, because I look at other people in my life and I can tell, that is a great guy. He is a successful husband, father, employee. But, when you compare him against somebody else, it maybe seem like, oh, they make more money, or, they have this that this person does. But I think they're all successful. And I think it comes down to what do you value? And for me, I think it has to do with, am I good with the Lord? Am I keeping the commandments? Do I have a temple recommend? Am I loving and serving my wife? Am I a good friend? I think those are the things that really make you successful. But also you can't ignore, do I have a good job? Am I working my hardest to have a good job and, and do my best? I think those are also important.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with what you were saying about, you look at people and you see success as somebody who makes a lot of money and or that is high up in their field of work and stuff like that. And one of my mission presidents he was a corporate lawyer, and he was the lawyer for IBM. and so he was pretty up there. He made a lot of money, and he was pretty high as far as he could go as a corporate lawyer. And but one of the things that he said that he was most successful was that him and his wife, they had a great relationship and a great family, and that they supported each other in all that they did. And he said, whether I had all of this success in my field of work, knowing that I have the support of my wife and my family is the more success than I can even measure. And my other mission president, I remember he was the CFO of a pretty big company, and he said he sat in many boardrooms and many board meetings and stuff like that, and with very, very important people talking about, multi-million-dollar decisions and things like that. And he said that the things we were doing as missionaries was more important than any meeting he had ever been in. And and he said he felt more successful as a mission president than he ever did serving in any capacity in any company. And I think that, where your priorities are kind of measures where your success is. Does anybody else have anything else to add?
No, I think that we are good so far.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions. So, sounds like we had a pretty good discussion tonight on this. It's kind of a hot topic in the sports world, with using performance-enhancing drugs and stuff like that. And I don't really have an opinion on it because I don't care, but I'm not a professional athlete. Maybe if I was, I'd have different feelings, or if I work directly with it. But they're going to do what they're going to do. I think there's a lot of crooked stuff that goes on, and I'm sure that doping and cycling isn't even the worst thing that's going on out there. That's for sure. But as long as we're always looking to do what's right, I think we're all going to be pretty successful in our lives, no matter where we stand with our careers and stuff like that. As long as we're trying to do the right thing, we'll be happy and we'll be successful. So, well, if no one else has anything, we can go ahead and probably close our meeting this week. And
I just want to confirm who's doing it next week. Is it Lexi or is it Artie? I guess I can check the schedule. It's you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
So
sweet.
it's Lexi, then Artie, then me.
Yeah. And I think we won't have one on that Thanksgiving week.
Yeah, so next week I'm doing it, and then the week after we won't have one.
Yeah.
So Artie won't go until the 28th, it looks like.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
And do we have one after that?
Okay, cool.
Do you know? Or is that the last one?
Well, we have one on the 5th, I think, because finals don't start until the next week, so.
Sounds good. I look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for coming, guys.
Yes.